You loan a friend some money. Uh-oh. She promises to pay back in 2 weeks. You probably have heard that before. In this situation, 2 months go by. Nothing. She avoids your calls. You stop asking, but you also stop trusting. That's a key word. Same week, different setting. Now you're at work. A colleague misses a critical deadline and blames the delay on your part of the project. You feel exposed and thrown under the bus. You stop sharing, but you also start protecting, self-protecting. Trust. Trust isn't just a feeling, it's a function of safety. And feeling safe is the most primal need in a connection. Safe. And once trust breaks, something else breaks with it. The connection that you feel with the other person and with yourself. And these types of disconnections, as we all know, can be extremely tricky to repair. In fact, many break down and relationships fall apart. In this episode, we'll look at what trust really means, how it's formed, what happens when it's fractured, and most importantly, how to begin rebuilding what was lost. This is another, what I call a classic rethink moment. So welcome back to the Rethink Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. David Zierk. This podcast is where we step back, pause, and explore smarter, more connected ways to lead and live by thinking with connection in mind. Now, I know I'm a broken record when I say that, but thinking with connection in mind, that's exactly what rethinking is all about. And I'm trying to drill that into people because I'm trying to help people understand that when something goes wrong, when your life splinters, when something doesn't go according to plan, those are the rethink moments. And that's what's meant by the word rethink, and that's what my podcast is all about, relationship-enhanced thinking. And one of the things I'd like to insert here is that you can never, ever go wrong by thinking about your situation through a relational lens. Never go wrong. Rethinking your connections, I want you to rethink your connections both with yourself and with the important people in your life around you. So getting back to today's topic, we talk a lot about trust, but most of us don't know how to define it, much less restore it once it's been damaged. Oftentimes we think it's a matter of apologizing, showing good intentions, or some of us are really good at allowing the passage of time to heal all. But trust, as we'll explore today, is a deeper bond rooted in security, integrity, and what I call relational reliability. I love that phrase. The other person's belief that your words and your actions will remain aligned. That's what relationship reliability is. What's amazing about trust is I think it's magical. It's the invisible bond that holds families together. It creates healthy teams and allows them to grow stronger together. Improves efficiency, bottom line, morale. It's magic. And it also fuels innovation and emotional safety. In this way, trust expands your world while keeping you grounded. And yet, it's one of the first things that dissolves in conflict and the last thing to return. So today, we're slowing down to rethink trust, where it begins, how it's built, and what it takes to restore it after you've experienced a breach. So, to deeply understand the vital nature of trust, let's start with the basics. Like I said earlier, trust is the invisible bond, this unseen thread between people that allows us to make mistakes, have hard conversations, and still remain connected. Now, if I haven't proven to you yet that trust is magical, just by saying that alone, I'm hoping that you get it. Unseen thread exists between people. It allows us to make mistakes, have hard conversations, and still remain connected. Think about that. Trust, and only trust, gives us this power. I mean, have you ever experienced the opportunity to make mistakes, have a hard conversation, and still feel connected? Those are few and far between. But going back to trust and learning its magical powers, it will facilitate your ability to be in control of your future rather than your future being in control of you. So, for instance, it might sound like this. After a breach happens, I know you respect me, even though your words are hurtful. Okay. In this example, something in my external world is bothersome. Someone did something that bothered me. But in my inner world, everything's okay. I still trust you. So I stay calm and connected, and I stay on course. Here's another example. I might say, I believe you value our relationship even when you take the high road and act like you're better than me. Now, I want you to understand how conscious and volitional this process is. But it's begin asking yourself and realizing that multiple truths can exist at once. And you have to ask yourself, what's the primary truth? I believe that you value our relationship, even when you take the high road and act like you're better than me, which bothers me. Multiple truths. You always have to ask yourself, what's the primary versus the secondary truth in your lived experience? It only happens by slowing things down. Again, in my external world, something is disturbed. But I don't have to react because I trust that you don't mean me harm. This explains why trust is the bedrock of vulnerability and belonging and nearly everything else that matters in the relational world. This is also why I refer to trust as square one. So let me go to my whiteboard and show you what that looks like. A simple square with the number 1 in it. There it is. Square one, trust. Now, understanding square one, you have to understand that this is not only the foundation of connection, and then without a square one, we have a tendency to go to ground zero, but everything in a relationship is built on square one. The next square two could be truth. Square three could be commitment. Square four could be safety. And then we keep going to support and validation and being challenged and experiencing intimacy. So we have all these multiple squares that are piling up on one another, building on one another. But the foundation of them is square one. And again, without a square one, we go to ground zero. And that's where relationships fall apart. Sometimes never to be resurrected. We all know that trust breaks down for many reasons. There's betrayal, avoidance, inconsistency, deception. I could go on. Humans are very, very good at breaking down relationships. But restoring it demands more than words. So I developed a trust model. According to this trust model, rebuilding requires 5 key actions represented by each letter in the word trust. So if you've been paying attention to any of my podcasts, you'll know that I'm an acronym king. Now, it's in the way of trying to help people understand that there's a system, trying to make it memorable, but there's a process, and a process that can be followed, not necessarily from a linear perspective, but there's a process that needs to be followed, and you're going to begin identifying what part of this trust model do I need to work on? What could strengthen my relationships with other people and myself? How could I improve the integrity of the square one that I experience with people? So there's the word trust that I just put on my whiteboard. And so let's break it down one by one. The first T has to do with transparency. Being transparent. Now, from a psychological perspective, this means being open. Stop hiding. Stop being a recluse. Slow down your avoidance, which oftentimes is a reflex. And you'll know that you're being transparent, you're being open, and you're coming out of hiding when you let others see your process. You're being transparent. Now, good psychology puts you in touch with your emotions and gives you options. And I applaud that each and every day. Many of us need practice in identifying emotions and kind of getting us out of our trap and being given options that sound reasonable, trying on the options that seem to fit your persona, going out into the world and experiencing success and victories. That's great. That was good psychology, great psychology. Gives you an understanding of your process, which means getting beyond words. Transparency in relationships is a cornerstone for building trust. It fosters deeper connections and it ensures long-term harmony with both yourself and others. So that's a great place to start. Intentionally asking yourself, what do I need to do to be more transparent? How do I go out there? Now, I'm not asking people to jump off the vulnerability cliff and just kind of rip off the cloak and say, here's what's going on inside of me. I'm asking people to move in the direction of becoming more visible, more transparent, so that other people can get you. Share what your emotions are. Share what your thoughts are, your ideas, your fears, your dreams. That's what transparency is all about. And what's amazing about it, transparency is very contagious. As you begin saying, hey, you know what, I had a wild idea, I want to move to Miami, you're likely going to get a response saying, oh my gosh, that's a crazy thought. I've been wanting to move to Montana. So before you know it, you get two people who are talking about moving, changing the status quo. It's all about moving intentionally in the direction of vulnerability by increasing the transparency, which is nothing really more than your contained truth, what you're holding on to, your emotions, your thoughts, your memories, your dreams, your fears, and then sharing it out loud. I guess it's my way of saying, reminding ourselves that we can give ourselves permission to be more childlike. Children have a reputation of being very transparent. So let's move to the R. The R is responsibility. I wrote down the word responsible. Responsibility is, I guess, best understood as saying owning the misstep without being defensive or deflecting. What I like to say is take responsibility without self-blame. I think that's really powerful. Take responsibility for what happened without self-blame. You probably know a lot of people who say, I'm sorry, very reflexively, or saying, oh, you know what? I'm a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad person. I need to improve in X, Y, and Z. They're taking self-blame. I want people to take responsibility without self-blame. That's something that all of us can practice. And when we do, not only do we enhance our ability to be transparent, but we improve our ability to do so in a responsible fashion. So, are you able to respond and not react? Taking responsibility means owning your actions. Okay, transparency, responsibility. Let's go on to the next one. This is probably my favorite one. The U stands for unity, but I also like to say it stands for us. This next action is easy to remember, and it's just as easy to forget. Like I wrote on my board, the U stands for us, it stands for unity. This is expressed by making the relationship more important than being right. In couples therapy, oftentimes we can say either you can be right or you can be in a relationship, take your pick. And it's not a misguided phrase at all. Because when you're right, oftentimes it's inferred that the other person is wrong. Or the way you express your righteousness, it turns people off and it shuts down the conversation. It increases the disconnect between you and other people. So the idea of it is making the relationship more important than being right. And just like I was telling that there could be more than one truth at any one time, that means that both people can be right at the same time. So I want you to think we, not just me. That's where the mind goes. The me is very, very self-oriented. It thinks about me first. Now, to neutralize that reflex of the mind, created a concept called the power of mutuality, and it reveals amazing results. The power of mutuality is rethinking at its finest, thinking with connection in mind. That speaks volumes for what the power of mutuality is all about. Thinking with connection in mind. When you're in a place where you feel a disconnect with another person or yourself, and you say, you know what, this is a good time to rethink. What you're doing is you're shifting your mind. Instead of just thinking about what you were thinking about, you're asking yourself to rethink. Rethink from that idea of a connection in mind. What's my deeper truth? Getting deeper connected with yourself. What's the greater truth that's going on here? Could there be more than one truth going on here? I know what's true for me. Maybe I should move towards the other person with curiosity and find out more about where they're coming from. That's the idea and the power of mutuality, by keeping unity in mind and making us the most important thing. So as we move forward with this trust model, the S stands for sincerity. I'll write the word sincere. Sincerity, it's plain spoken, of course, and we all have a general understanding of what that means, but the repair, the reconnection, it must be heartfelt, not performative. A performative behavior is when you say the right thing, but the other person doesn't really receive it. There's not that genuineness. There's not that heartfeltness that's been put into it. It didn't come from a deep place. It came from a shallow place. So repair must be heartfelt, not performative. And everybody knows when inauthenticity shows up. Sincerity is accelerated by being intentional. And what's amazing about that is that when you move in the direction of sincerity, you're inviting authenticity. And when authenticity shows up, you're inviting vulnerability. And when vulnerability shows up, you're increasing the power of that connection between you and other people. Now, if you're having a good connection with another person and you choose to be vulnerable and they receive your vulnerability and or reciprocate and offer you a vulnerability statement back, that's an intimate moment. Your connection has grown. You've literally turned conflict into connection when vulnerabilities are being shared. And I'm just giving you an idea through this trust model of how to get there. So we have transparency and responsibility, focusing on unity, making us the most important thing. We have sincerity, and we have one more letter, And we cannot forget the dimension of time. Time. It means showing up consistently. Integrity isn't just a one-off. An apology isn't just something you say and walk away from. I always say to people, when you've done something wrong, apologize with your behaviors, not your words. Show people that you're sorrowful. Show people that you're remorseful. Show people that you feel bad about what happened. Or like in parenting, I say, help your child understand the difference between right and wrong. Ask them what they did. Was it right or wrong? Hopefully they have the wherewithal and the integrity to say it was wrong. And then you say, great. What you did was wrong. Now make it right. And that whole idea of making something right after it was following what was wrong, that's integrity. You're offering a person an opportunity to step back into the interpersonal space between you and them and making it right. Showing up consistently. So think of time as your friend that offers opportunities to practice connection. Time lets you practice being transparent, being responsible, being unified, and being sincere. You can see how this model all works together, being pulled together by time. And rebuilding trust also depends on another variable. It's your basic sense of trust. Your basic trust in others, in yourself, and the world around you. You probably know some people who trust everyone automatically, and then they get heartbroken when that trust has been breached. Or you might know other people who don't trust easily at all. They say, oh, I'm not going to trust you. You have to earn my trust. These are different people with different levels of basic trust. I want you to assess your basic trust. Do you assume good intent from people? Or are you always bracing for the next letdown or breakdown? Your answer shapes your capacity to give and receive trust. Square one, the foundation of relationship. What's more, your basic trust was formed during times you didn't know you were being taught. Whether you trust easily or slowly reflects your upbringing and your relationship history, both of which are worth examining, but also the intersection of your upbringing and your relationship history is really worth examining. Because by doing so, you'll get a better understanding of what your basic sense of trust is. So let me give you a real life example of how this trust model works. A parent forgets a promise to attend a child's game again. So there's a pattern. The child is hurt, but doesn't say much. Just stops believing those promises. The parent apologizes, but over time begins to show up without being asked. Game after game after game. Eventually, the child says, I knew you'd be here. That's trust rebuilt, not through words, but through repeated presence, relational reliability. Having a sense that the other person can trust that you're going to be present when it's really needed. Relational reliability. Let's shift and let me give you a workplace example. A team leader admits to micromanaging a project after a round of team feedback that wasn't so hot. In a meeting, she names it. She puts it out there. She steps into vulnerability. Then she gives more autonomy the next time around. And she sticks with it. Even when she's uncomfortable and her micromanagement style wants to take over, and her team sees the shift over time. What happens? Trust returns, not through one apology, but through practiced delegation. Again, relational reliability, it proves strong. It's really what changes perception, how another person perceives another person. If you're perceived as a person who's not that trustworthy and you begin putting concerted effort into relational reliability, it's going to alter how that person sees you. And even without having a learned conversation, that person is going to begin trusting you at a deeper and higher level. So here's our call to action this week. I want you to take an inventory of trust in your life. Ask yourself, where is it strong? Where is it shaky? What's one relationship that could benefit from repair? If you've broken trust, be transparent. Be open. Take responsibility. Make your relationship with the other person matter more than yourself. Make us matter. Move in the direction of unity. Choose sincerity over spin. Don't just say what the other person is expecting you to say. Say it in a way that gets their attention. Be sincere. Sincerity doesn't come from a script. It comes from the heart. And then, be consistent over time. If someone's broken your trust, you can ask, is the person showing up differently or just saying they will? You hear the difference between sincerity versus being provisional? Then watch for signs of growth, not just guilt. Guilt is that amazing emotion, it's a moral emotion, that motivates people to say the right thing, but not necessarily following it up with the right actions. Trust can be rebuilt, but only if both people are willing to trade quick fixes for that deep work that I keep suggesting. Because the trust model puts it out there on the surface, but in order to make it work, in order to integrate it into your process, you have to go deep. So thanks for joining me on the Rethink podcast. What I hope you keep in mind is that trust isn't just what holds us together. It helps us grow and grow stronger together. We can be cracked, we could be broken, maybe even come from abandonment, but it can also be restored with intention, honesty, and a whole lot of patience in practicing relational reliability. Keep rethinking how relationship intelligence can help you turn conflict into connection, especially when things are breaking down. It's my belief that only when we are in conflict with another person, turn that conflict into a connection, that we really get to know each other at a deeper, more meaningful level. It takes our relationship to the next level. It builds trust between people and allows us to be much more genuine and authentic. You can show up. I'd like to invite you to visit my website, davidzierk.com, to sign up for our newsletter called Refresh, or download all of our resources. You can read a blog or two. You can learn more from my quizzes and look at some of my speaker topics. I also have a YouTube channel called Whiteboard Psychology, where I make learning visible. I take really abstract concepts in psychology, and within 3 minutes, I throw it up on my whiteboard to help you understand what's going on here, perhaps apply it to your life, and make moving forward easier and certainly more genuine. And I do another thing. I also send out quick tips about relationship intelligence on YouTube and Instagram. It's my way of giving back. So this has been fun. Until next time, keep rethinking how you show up, because trust isn't just something we get. It's something we give.